All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:32. I'm sorry, I'm 2 minutes late. It's February 24th. 224. Guess what that is? It's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I just sent her a nice little video of 20 pictures of the past, the family. So this way she wakes up, hopefully puts a smile on her face. Got to think ahead and everything. Anyway, my dogs, my name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com and the founder of Red Dog Mindset. I hope everyone's feeling well. I had a good weekend. Here we are. It's a new week. A lot going on this week. We got NVIDIA earnings midweek. We have the PCE because we're still worried about inflation. And, we have this erratic type of action, right? A lot of momentum names, a lot of things lost upper levels last week. A lot of names lost the 8-day, the 21-day. SPYs closed down 10 points. And we walk in today in this, we're up 30 handles. Some are like, Red Dog, this is the worst setup ever. I get it. If you got stopped out of positions or sold positions into strength and used your sell rules on Thursday or Friday, you come in today, you're like, things are up, the SPYs are up 3 points. But if you put it in perspective, and if you're short, you just got to figure out how to potentially use your retracement rules to maybe add to it if that's if we're gonna get some continuation to last week's selling. If you look here at the chart of the SPYs, you had a pretty big move here, right? We hit a high of 613. You had to make a new little high last week. And then all of a sudden, remember, they shook the tree a little bit on Thursday before boom. So this is a big igniting bearish candle, which took back all of this. And then today, instead of getting downside follow through to give you like immediate gratification, because I'm sure there are people short coming in, okay, what do I have to do here? Do I have to add to my shorts? Do I have to trade around it? Am I going to have to wait an hour? Are they going to try and grind this market up all day? Or are we just going to, just be back in this range? It's hard to tell, except for if you map things out, you can figure it out. Right now, the SPYs are at 603.27. All right, it broke 607 on Friday and 603 to hit 599. So all we are is right back here. So if you were to put your retracement rules in here, you're not even really taking back more than a third. So if you happen to have gone out short the SPYs, what you do is you add a little bit here, okay, and then see, if it rolls over, if names that, are green go red, if if the early strength fades, if in the first half hour, just so you put a high in at 603.27, pull in a little bit and things hang in there and make another push, then you have to figure out, where they can go. I would say, you have this zone right here that if the active sellers want to keep the pressure on, they really shouldn't let it go too far into this whole big area right here. So here's 603. This is the middle area, and then 607 is like the real line in the sand. But if it got up there and you're short, you're really, you're pulling your hair out. For me, I like to be actively long. I like to have 10, 12, 14 positions on and massage them. I don't have that. We're not in the market for that. We're in the low gross, low net market. We're in a market where the mag 7 turned into the lag 7. We're in a market where those awesome names that you could have bought every dip around the 8-day have broken. What names are those? Like your Reddit, your Palantir, even Dash, lost a little special status. So when you have the mag 7 losing special status, you have the super growth names losing special status, you have names like an App Loving gapping up huge and then hanging out a few days and breaking lower. It's you want to be a little bit more careful out there. So I would write down 603.20, and then this is really like around 605.40. I'd be very surprised if we can get above 605-ish. So if we were to see 605-ish, what I would probably do is what I would say is if you think we're going to continue to the downside, later this week, then maybe go into that, buy some puts for Thursday, Friday, later in the week. That's what I did last week. I know in here I had a bunch of longs on, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy some puts for later in the week just in case, and the SPY's down 10 points and wound up saving and making me, a decent amount of money. If you want to look at the Qs, you look at the Qs, very similar. It just broke, on Friday. So this low here is 532. And then this low here is 529. So really this zone is where the sellers need to reject price if this market's going to, roll over. So right now the Qs are weaker than the SPYs. not too much weaker, but so we're approaching resistance one. So when we have a big move, sometimes you judge the importance of that move by retracement rule. So how much of Friday are we going to retrace? Is it going to be a feeble retracement, or are they going to, push you back a third, push you back 50%? That's all you can do is map it out and then figure it out. I'm very flat-footed today, and I'm fine. And as I look at the tape, it doesn't look that easy anyway. You look. Apple was just one of the strongest names on Fridays, and thank goodness I get out of the way. Now it's down 250. Why did I sell my Apple? Well, you had a little red dog reversal right here. Look at that. You had a little topping tail, went through 247, failed. After a big move, we made really good money from 532 up. So I am not in Apple. Hey, but I'm also not short it, but at least I'm not in it. Because a lot of these ascending channels started to break to the downside. So I'm like, if something like a Meta could break its ascending channel like it did here, why am I going to be in Apple in a market that seems very vulnerable? So anyway, look at this, how this closed in the dead lows. And now some of these things, like if you were playing for downside follow through for today, I get it. It looks like it, looks very bearish. It was bullish for a while, and then all of a sudden, it broke 725, which is where a lot of people got out of their active long. And then you have a downside follow through. So I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be trying to, fade things to go from green to red. So right now, Meta is at just say, 687. Just be aware that if you short Meta right away, it has room to 693. That's why these type of days to me aren't fun, because we're going to get continuation selling. It might not happen at 9:40. It might happen at 10:30. It might happen at 11:40. The time of day is a little different. So, and if you start shorting at 687, they might push it all the way up to 690. So I'm just saying. But anyway, these charts are not looking special. So when they don't look special, what do? You either fade them or you be very careful, picking your spots. Yes, Tesla also, broke this mid-range. It broke below this little pocket pivot. Tesla itself has been not easy whatsoever. Went from being one of the best trades to the long side pre and post election to, lower highs galore into, a little bounce into resistance, didn't even get there and turn lower. So, and then again, Tesla itself, you have the Q's up 255, you have the SPYs up, and Tesla's down $1. So it's just like, for me, I have a go-to list of 40 names, and they all are pretty crappy. Just for now, it happens. Most of these names at some point they'll rebuild, they'll be great again. make the momentum names great again. Well, they're not great right now. Then you look at a Palantir also, just like a Meta, very similar. Okay, what did it do? It hit 125. Remember that whole sell rule thing that I talk about all the time that you guys should have printed out? Well, I'd say a lot of my friends made a lot of money shorting this. When it broke 118, that was your spot. Okay, then it broke. Then here was 115. Then here was 112, and now it's like, what's next here? It's hard to tell. All I know is on Friday, some guys faded it. It was up $1, right? It fell to hold 107, got above a prior high, couldn't hold it, came back. You could have shorted it versus 108, and it came in. So now we'll see what happens in here. Do you have a few inside days and does it want to fill this gap? It might. It all depends. Right now, it's in a different sequence. So it is what it is. What's doing this morning? Somebody just asked me. Well, let's see. It's up 4 cents. So you're not missing anything on the bounces. It doesn't seem so strong. Like this market is just not a great market. Anyway, and someone's like, well, Red Dog, the XLE is going to take off. I guess you could say, I don't know. This is the energy sector. We did decent here with the January effect. This too was a pretty, whatever. This candle made a lower low or broke this low. It would have got me out if I was in that. Let's see what the dogs around the world are saying. I'm trying not to be too, Debbie Downer here, but I just don't love it right now. I'm not loving it. What's that from McDonald's? Anyway, but we'll see. We'll see. Apple strong. It's not strong today. Why is Apple down this morning? To be honest, I'm not sure. I didn't see the news this morning. Something about domestic spending. So this is everybody talking. This is on YouTube or on Twitter. You could ask me questions. We can go over it together. Let's see what everyone's saying. Joey A saying good morning. Nugsy, happy birthday to Red Dog's mom. I appreciate that. Tim Haggerty, good morning. Good morning from Caracas. What's the greatest thing about Twitter and YouTube is you have friends around the world. There's strength in numbers. It's great. A lot of great ideas out there. Rise and grind. Some of these guys watched the 20 at 520 with me, which is so some people are like, hey, Red Dog, what's the subscribe button? Well, the subscribe button is to Red Dog Mindset. So many traders out there love Trading in the Zone by Douglas. I've read it a bunch of times like, hey, could you do something where we could almost get you to get our mind right every day? Well, every day at 5:20, I'm in my sauna talking about what's happening overseas, getting a little bit of a workout in. I have weights in my sauna. We do a 20-minute workout with some cool 80s music, a little this and that, and try and frame the day. So then this way, when I'm sitting in my seat, I'm in a good mood no matter what happens, and I'm just ready to go. You look at this. Someone's like, Red Dog, did you see what happened with AppLovin? I thought it was a great report. I'm like, well, this was a big gap and go. That was only a 226. So at some point, it turns into an exhaustion gap. And, if you bought it here and didn't get stopped at 488, this was a tough move from 525 down to 412, down 112 points. And that earnings report was awesome. You have to just learn some things are priced in and entries and exits matter. This upper area broke. So if that's the case, you get out, you get short, and then you figure it out. Then at some point, it'll change again. What's MLD saying? Love him and leave him, just like college, right? MLD, no, we don't do that. We want me to look at Oracle. All right, Oracle. This too, Oracle turned lower. Look at that. Oracle filled the gap, and look at this nasty candle on Friday. This is not telling you to be long. It's below all the moving averages. I've been writing books about the moving averages where when you're below the 821 day, you're not sitting in names if you trade for a living. It's February 24th, and names are just not great. I tried to be long some of the mags last week. I tried to buy Microsoft. They made a little bit of money. Then I had to get out. I tried to buy Google. Didn't do much. You know what? I was watching Amazon make lower lows. I'm like, if Amazon is making lower lows post earnings, none of these things are going to be in a rush. So here's Amazon. Look at that. Amazon, you had your pro earnings gap, never got filled. So right here, some people got short versus that. And then when it broke this inside flag or your H cell setup, you were able to make some pretty good money. And then all of a sudden started rolling down. So on Thursday, this started to break below the lows of the week. So that gave me clues. Hey, why are people going to be in a rush for Microsoft? Why are they going to be in a rush for Google if Amazon also has a hole in the chart? So there are always things out there that give you clues on how to navigate. So anyway, this hit 214. What's Amazon doing this morning? It's up a whole $1.68. So it has some room back to here if it wants it, but it's just like, is it worth it? So again, these names are in correction mode, rebuild mode. The market itself, I think the S&P is only 2% off all-time highs, and stocks are kind of broken and bent. My buddy Dan Zanger, who I've known for a long time. I've been to his seminars. I learned a lot of his style back in the day. He's putting half of his money in treasuries, and he's a momentum trader. If Dan Zanger is putting half of his money in treasuries and is like, hey, this is a tough market, we're going a lot lower, maybe you guys should do a little low gross low net also. Yes, we made a lot of money in CLH on Friday. Had a big gap. This was a coin toss, to be honest, but again, it went the right way. So this option trade on Friday for me went from like 1.5 to 5.5, and that just made up for some of the other option plays for earnings that really didn't work. So it's not like this was a home run. It was a home run for some, but it was good. It was a good option. An option trade like this is what has people still kind of thinking about how to play options for earnings, even though options for earnings are overrated. It's really hard to make money, with options for earnings. But anyway, let's see what are people talking. NVIDIA had a bounce. Okay. Is there an indicator to mark your gap up at TradingView? I'm not sure. Oh, Apple, $500 billion factory investment in the USA. So why would it be down on that? All right. Anyway, so NVIDIA, people like Red Dog, what do I think about NVIDIA? Well, NVIDIA's reporting on Wednesday. It's been in a channel for a long time. Like this is June 20th, 2024. If you go across, It's been in the channel almost 10 months now as the valuation's coming down a little bit. Here's a high, lower high, lower high, got sold down a little bit. I'm probably not, I'm definitely not taking a call spread into this. And I don't know, some people like Red Dog, don't you think there's a little overcapacity? Look what Microsoft said. Don't you think maybe some are slowing down a little bit of their spending because of how cheap it could be for DeepSeek and some of the alternatives to NVIDIA? That maybe, this time you get a big gap down versus a gap up. We'll see. Let's see where we are closer to numbers on Wednesday. What I might do into strength today, so I'm thinking like this, just in case if NVIDIA isn't extra special, and that's on Wednesday, what you could do if the SPYs, okay, if this is really, if we're in a market that's vulnerable, which it feels like we are, and you get a move to 603, 605 today, you should buy SPY puts for Thursday. So if NVIDIA fails to impress and is down a bunch as a leader and these names still aren't special, chances are maybe into strength, 603, 605, it's cheaper to potentially buy. Maybe you buy 598 puts, because if we were to break 598, 599, I would think, the S&P or the SPYs could see 590. So into strength is a better time to put on some hedges or add puts for later in the week. So that's something I'm probably going to do. I'm going to buy puts for Thursday into strength because it costs me less, and then I'm just going to trade and see how things develop for the week, and I'm going to try and have multiple plans. In my back of my head, I'm like, stocks are broken and bent and nothing's acting special. Why would we gap up today and grind all day and be back at the highs by the end of the week? To me, that feels like it's going to be tricky and hard to do. So I need to figure out ways to be able to position to make money and also trade and make money. So that's kind of like my thought. What does Anik say? 401k. Listen, 401k, what you do is you put money every single month. I'm 52 years old. The way you're going to make money, the way you're going to build wealth is by putting money into a 401k. And if your employer matches, do that. I have a 401k for me, which is I put in every month. My wife has a blood in the street account because she worked at UMDNJ, which was a hospital, and now she's works in private practice. So her state retirement account had to stay there. So I use that as what I call a blood in the street account. I put it to work 17 times, and it's been a great vehicle for everyone that follows me. Basically, when the market in turmoil segment's coming up, I'm putting a tier of her blood in the street account to work. And then if I've had to do tier 2 once or twice. But anyway, it's a great way when you're like, hey, I need cash because things are getting crushed and there's blood in the street. I wish I had cash. It's always good to have a blood in the street account. But if you're 25 or if you're 35 and you don't, you can just put money every single month away. And if you trade for a living and it's February 24th, which is my mom's birthday, and you need to get paid for February, you better know what stocks are doing. And right now, stocks are it's a little tricky right now. There's more momentum to the downside that people are making money short than to the upside. And that just happens a bunch of times a year. You have to know what kind of active sequence we're in. So let's see, what's Maria saying? Maria says, yeah, it's the Mag 7 is the Lag 7. Yeah, like you look at Microsoft, look at that candle. Yeah, you had a 3-day move that we did pretty well making money, and then this candle comes in. And Microsoft's been pretty crappy, to be honest, for a while now. Microsoft put a high in back in July. It's been sideways and tactical and blah. Sometimes that happens. Anyway, Bitcoin's been tough too. Glenn Snodgrass is like, what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin's been consolidating. Remember the turkey trot? Remember the 100K Santa race? Well, we made a lot of money in Bitcoin. But then when Bitcoin gets into these grindy channels, there's not a whole lot you could do. You could put money every single month, which I think you could put money every single month in Bitcoin. But if you're trading it, looks like it's a whole lot of nothing. If anything, you got to be careful here. It's got an inside range. The miners are not great. We made money in the miners. The miners have been choppy as hell. I would write down 94. And here, like if this breaks to the downside, it'll probably give us clues that more risk is coming off. Then you'll probably see a move down to the 86,000 level. But this remains to be seen. But as of right now, remember this move. Remember this range. This range crushed people. But you had a consolidated move from 33,000 to 73,000. So we just went from 73,000, all the way up to 108,000. And if you remember right here when the turkey trot started, that's when I put the little Tommy the turkey picture, and we made a lot of money in Bitcoin from 60,000 to probably about 90 something thousand. And now it's choppy and harder. I do think institutions are accumulating. I do think that Bitcoin will be higher in the next 6, 9, 12 months. But if you're trading for a living and you're buying the IBIT, which is an ETF by BlackRock, and you want to get paid for February, you don't know what's going to happen here. So just be careful with Bitcoin for now, because again, it's below the moving averages and it moves fast. So if you want to look at the IBIT, these candles are kind of gross. And it seems like, to me, it feels like more like it's going to break to the downside than to the upside. But just, again, be careful. And, I thought Mr. was going to break to the upside, and I was wrong. Broke to the downside. So thank goodness for stops. Right here on this candle looked like it was going to break above this spot, which, again, that day looked good. And then on this candle, didn't look so good. Things change. That's why we trade every day. That's why we know what candlesticks mean. We know that's why every weekend I'm like, take 3 minutes and go over your candlesticks. Well, anyway, that was a pretty nasty candlestick. What's Mr. doing this morning? Mr. is up a whole $4, a 303. So what was this low here? This low is a 315. So I guess see what happens here. Does it take back 309 and 315? Mr.'s been a piece of, Mr. had a great trend. Remember when Mr. would be up when Bitcoin was down? Remember when Bitcoin was up, Mr. would be twice that? Well, it hasn't been that for a while. Look at this. Since this wedge broke here in December 17th, it's just been, an active trade looking worse and better. So anyway, at some point in the next, like I was talking to my friends from BlackRock, I'm like, Bitcoin feels weak. What do you think? It's going to 175 next year. I'm like, I understand it's going to 175,000 next year, but what do you think now? Or what's going on with the flows? Some people just don't care about the weekly and the monthly action. If you trade for a living, you're tuning into my free 630 Club. My 630 Club has been free since 2020, and it's still free. Some people ask me, well, what's the subscribe button for? It's for the mindset heading into the 630 Club, and at some point they're going to be packaged together, but not quite yet. So anyway, there will be a time when Mr. gets better. There will be a time when IBIT, could get back to 61.75, but it right now it's not giving you clues, and it's not acting in a way that pays you to sit in it. So if it's not doing that, just be tactical and approach it, a little easier. So anyway, with that being said, Bitcoin right now is just not, it's not showing momentum. It's not making higher highs and higher lows. It's a choppy mess. And if you're getting chopped up in a choppy mess, what does that tell you? Take a step back and do a little less, get a little low gross, a little low, little low net. So you're not driving yourself silly. And again, look at the size of this candle. So these are 3 spots. We'll see what happens today. Does it get rejected in the first half an hour at 603.20? Does it push through for everyone that short 603.20 to 605? And then this is your line in the sand for the week. I don't think it gets back up to 607. If it does, then the active bears really have absolutely no control. And again, if we bounce up to 603, 605, I would think if you think we're going lower in the weeks ahead, that's probably a spot to put on some hedges or reduce a little bit of risk. So this way, you're in more control moving forward. I wish I had more for you. This is not an exciting tape. It's a lot harder. There are things to do. There are ways to be tactical, but you really have to be on your game. And how do you be on your game? You have to have your mindset right. So this way you have multiple plans so you can execute with confidence, you can honor stops, and you can listen to your inner voice. Your inner voice is your seat time. If you've been sitting in the seat for a decade, you know what I'm talking about. If you've been sitting in your seat for a year, you might not know. You're still learning. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see the way this week works itself out. For now, we're up 30 handles. A lot of stocks are mixed and specific, and just make sure you don't get frustrated and stubborn on a Monday. By the way, I'm fasting today. I do my 36-hour fast. I'm on my eighth one. If you're with me with Red Dog Mindset, I went from 194 to below 185. My goal is to be below 180. If you made some promises to yourself for 2025 and you've already broken half of them, that's not good. It's not good. The way you build self-esteem and the way you build confidence is keeping promises to yourself. If you can't keep promises to yourself, you're probably not going to keep promises to anyone else. Work on it.